Well, hello, Hormones Balance community. I would love to talk to you today about some of the differences between DIM and sulforaphane in the supplement world. Both of them are amazing in helping you with estrogen dominance. Those are some of the really fundamental supplements, but they do have a very different role. So I really want to address that because we get so many emails and questions from you about DIM, saying, hey, so a few different comments and questions that always come in. One is saying, can I take DIM when I have estrogen dominance? And the answer is yes, but it's going to be an incomplete estrogen detoxification. And the other question that we get is, or comment we get, is that, hey, I started DIM, but after 2 weeks, it kind of stopped working. And in fact, I'm actually feeling worse while taking DIM. So I really want to discuss this today because it is, I think DIM has been very effectively marketed as being like the estrogen buster, if you will, bust out the estrogen, right? And remember, if you follow me for a while, you know that estrogen is not a bad thing in itself. We need it as women to function, to look beautiful, to have healthy bones, healthy skin, good cognitive function. And our cardiovascular health also depends on sufficient levels of estrogen. However, how you break down those estrogens to clean estrogens and dirty estrogens can make a very big difference. And this is really where the issue is. A lot of women are having, even women who have low estrogen levels, like women in perimenopause and menopause, can still experience estrogen dominance only because the way you're breaking down those estrogens to the clean ones versus the dirty ones can be highly compromised. And so I do talk a lot about it in my latest book called Overcoming Estrogen Dominance, which is a health book and a cookbook at the back that gives you recipes. But really what I want to talk about today is DIM and some of the supplements for estrogen detoxification. So, one way to think about a DIM is, yes, it is a really great dirty estrogen metabolizer, but think of DIM as being the substance that really helps you upregulate your phase 1 liver detoxification. So the liver, what you need to know is the liver has part 1 and part 2 liver detoxification that happens. In part 1, there's certain substances that we need to upregulate the first phase, but there's others that you need to upregulate phase 2. And what happens with DIM, and for those of you who have taken DIM, and I'm curious how many of you here have taken DIM and you didn't feel the effects, or you started feeling worse. The potential reason is that you just upregulated your phase 1 liver detoxification, but your phase 2 remains sort of unaddressed, unsupported, and that's why you're just not feeling very good because your phase 2 is not getting a lot of the support. So one of the ways to think about it is to, we've got an article that Brittany, who's helping me here today, is going to pop the article that I'm sharing with you right now here on the screen, and that is an image of a toilet. And so, one way you can think about DIM as in being the phase 1 is like when you have a toilet, right? And then, I think no matter who you are, where you live, which country you come from, we all had a clogged up toilet at one point. Very unpleasant experience, especially if you don't have the right tools for it. But the idea here is that DIM really helps you to unclog the toilet. So when you take the plunger and you do the thing, right? Yes, it can help. However, how many of you here had the issue that even though you use the plunger and you unclog the toilet, you still see that the water isn't flowing down, right? It's not flushing properly. And the reason could be that's in a drain. And so this is where the rest of the image you can see comes in, that in order to unclog the second part of this whole toilet fiasco is to address the drain. And there's 2 compounds that you can use to really support, and this is where your liver part 2 detoxification comes in. You can support that part 2 is sulforaphane and calcium D-glucarate. So the difference between these two is that sulforaphane is a substance that's found in broccoli sprouts, and I'm going to talk about this of what's the difference between a supplement and the broccoli sprouts in just a second. But sulforaphane is what helps you not only upregulate phase 2, but specifically a pathway, the sulfation pathway in the liver. And that's just really, really important. Any sulfur compounds is what really the liver needs at that point to attach itself to such things like, for example, estrogen, and evacuate it. Calcium D-glucarate, on the other hand, works on a different pathway, still phase 2, but it's a different pathway called the glucuronation pathway. And there, and so the question is, probably many of you asking now, so what's the difference? Like, how do I know, if I need sulforaphane, calcium D-glucarate, or do I need sulforaphane, or do I need calcium D-glucarate? And the answer is, you wouldn't really know until you try it. There isn't any specific tests that show you this. You could certainly, first of all, if you're taking DIM only and you didn't feel much of a difference, your symptoms of estrogen dominance are not improving, or you started feeling worse, then you go like, okay, well, obviously something else is missing. And that something else is looking at sulforaphane, calcium D-glucarate. Which one is which is hard to say, because it is, as far as I know, there is no test that will show you how your different pathways in the liver are performing. So, it's not that much of an expensive thing. You just buy the supplement and test it one at a time and see what makes the difference. I want to just share with you just a real quick story from a friend of mine who has seen a number of different doctors, including functional, integrative, holistic doctors, for her horrendously painful breast. And so she had painful breast, lumpy breast, so much pain in the breast that for 2 weeks out of the month, she couldn't even put on a bra, let alone exercise. And she's a big exercise person. And so you can imagine how debilitating that was. Obviously, not wanting to be intimate, having to sleep on her back, not on the side or on her stomach because it was so painful. So a lot of people have put her on a whole bunch of different supplements, and the no-brainers was, of course, like DIM. She was put on sulforaphane. She was put on vast amounts of magnesium, which can also help tremendously with breast tissue, but she wasn't getting her results. And so I met her actually at the botanical camp last year. If you followed me for a while, over summer, all my European trip plans have obviously collapsed. And so I ended up doing this botanical camp in Colorado, which was amazing. And one of the girls there, she's like, what on earth am I supposed to do next? And I said to her, have you tried calcium D-glucarate? And she's like, oh my God, yet another supplement. So, 3 months later, she texts me and she says, hey, I took the calcium D-glucarate and all my breasts are just as good as ever. And all the pain is gone. So it was really interesting that in her case, it was specifically the calcium D-glucarate was what she needed in order to support her estrogen metabolism on that pathway. So today I want to spend a little bit more time on sulforaphane, just because we just had a newsletter, an email that went out about Broma Power. So that's our supplement that contains sulforaphane. So I want to talk a little bit about it because it really is an amazing substance, not just from a perspective of estrogen metabolism, but it also helps you with overall liver detoxification. It's a hugely anti-inflammatory substance. The other thing about sulforaphane that's just so magical is that, by the way, the article that I'm sharing with you right now that's showing on this page, and Brittany has just posted it as well. You can click on that and you can see all the research behind sulforaphane. We've done a whole bunch of research and to substantiate it is that, sulforaphane is also has the ability to kill stem cells in cancer cells. And this specifically was done on breast cancer. And so it's just really an amazing substance. I personally feel way better when I take it. My PMSs are pretty much non-existent. I don't even have any. So for example, today I'm actually on my day 1 of my period. I'm a little bit tired. Plus it was a full moon. By the way, I'm one of those women who on a full moon, I actually get my period. So most women will ovulate on a full moon. For me, it's the opposite. And I think they call it the red moon. A lot of witches are like that, apparently. So I'm probably a witch in some capacity. And so I'm feeling a little bit tired because it's normal. All your hormones are just like collapsing on that particular day. So I didn't sleep all that terribly well. But overall, I didn't need any painkillers. I did not have any PMS symptoms before I got my period. And so life is kind of going as usual. And I do attribute that towards sulforaphane really helped me regulate my period. So the other, huge benefit of sulforaphane is it really helps to skew. Remember how I just talked about the dirty estrogens versus the clean estrogens. It helps the pathway to. So that's what it does. Sulforaphane in the liver is that it attaches itself to the estrogen needs to be metabolized on this pathway and evacuates it out of the body. Somebody was asking a question here, and I'm gonna just address this right away. I cannot take sulforaphane if I have genetic sulfur intolerance. No, actually, so sulforaphane contains very, very little sulfur. And so I think that the mutation you're talking about is CBS. I have that too. I have a double mutation on it. What's interesting is that, when you really get your body to a place of balance, where you have your digestion is working well, your liver is working well, you're sleeping significantly well, your nutritional deficiencies are corrected, your zinc, magnesium, vitamin C, all of that is in really good check. Your body overall is in really good balance. What I have found is that my intolerance to sulfur significantly gets reduced. So that's something to consider. And I can tell you, when I moved to Boulder 4 years ago, I was not in a very good state. I had just broken up with my partner, moved countries from Iceland. I moved back to the United States. A lot of changes in my business. I was not in the best place, very stressed out. And my friend invited me to go to flotation tanks. If you've been to those, when you float in this very salty water and they put this thing over you and you have basically, you float and you don't touch anything. And it's just like an amazing experience. And so my friend I went with texted me the following day and he said, how do you feel? How did you sleep? And I said, terrible. I just had a terrible sleep. And is that the reason is that salt that I use in these chambers is magnesium sulfate, which is a lot of sulfur in it. And so typically that's where you have your Epsom salts, for example, is magnesium sulfate. So anyway, I felt terrible because my body was not able to process all that sulfur. However, today I do, I have a tub upstairs, I do take baths occasionally and I use Epsom salts. I actually ran out of my magnesium chloride flakes. And so I use Epsom salts. I was like, well, let's see how that's going to go down. And I can tell you, I had no reaction whatsoever to it, and I actually slept really well and all that good stuff. So it's really, it can be a really great indicator of just where you are with your overall health. So I'm going to circle back to questions in just a second, but I just want to finish a couple of things on sulforaphane before I take your questions. And I want to show you a couple of things. Like if you do have a favorite sulforaphane company a brand that you want to use, there's a couple of things I want to share with you just to be really careful about, because remember, supplements are unregulated industry. And so you're going to just trust the manufacturer. Otherwise, it's just really hard to know. One of the problems with sulforaphane is the instability of the substance itself. And so working with a manufacturer and a raw material supplier who can do the testing and show you later that really there is truly 7 milligrams of sulforaphane in the final product is really, really key. And we test that. And this is the reason why we put that in our label, that it contains that. And so if you look at our label, we've got guaranteed 3 milligrams of sulforaphane in here. Now, I want to show you something that addresses the other element of this is, how do you know whether the broccoli seeds that were used in making the supplement are of high quality? So this is an independent study from, you can see the source down at the bottom here is from Fahey and all in National Academy of Sciences, USA, 1997. And what they did, was they looked at the content of glucoraphanin. Glucoraphanin gets then converted to sulforaphane. Sulforaphane on its own doesn't really exist in a compound. It needs to be converted with the help of an enzyme, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, of an enzyme and vitamin C, it helps you to convert to broccoli seed, to sulforaphane. So what this study showed was that when you get broccoli sprouts from various sources, you can see that a content of glucoraphanin can vary all over the place. Things like fresh, as you can see, fresh broccoli here, right? Frozen broccoli is very little. Fresh broccoli has got just a tiny bit of glucoraphanin. 3-day broccoli sprouts, and you can see here that they are somewhat high. The really high content of glucoraphanin comes from broccoli seeds themselves. And as you can see, the content can be from as low as 1,200 here all the way up to 4,500. So 5 times higher. And the raw material supplier that we work with they actually, and let me just say that when they did this study, there was no indication of like saying, oh, if you buy organic broccoli sprouts or broccoli seeds, they are better quality. Or if I buy it at farmer's market, it's going to be higher content like glucoraphanin as compared to something that I'm getting at Walmart. It just did not, it was completely unrelated, okay? So this means that you can maybe buy, a pretty ineffective broccoli seed online, but you can get a great one in your farmer's market. You just don't know. So unless you test it. And so most people won't test it unless you manufacture these things. And this is the reason why we went to a manufacturer or rather to a supplier of broccoli seeds who gets the seeds that are at this level here. Okay, and so, which I think is really interesting. The other thing to consider when you're considering, a supplement like sulforaphane is that making sure that the thing that you want to look out for is that, remember how I said that glucoraphanin does not get converted to sulforaphane, right? So the conversion is needed. You can help it out in a couple of ways. One is like if your gut microflora is really healthy, then it's going to depend on that. If your stomach acid is sufficient, it's also going to help, okay? But most people have a really compromised gut and very poor, guts or stomach acid levels. And so this is the reason why we use an enzyme called myrosinase. And so this is the reason why we have this. So Brittany wrote here, find a sulforaphane supplement that guarantees 3 to 7 milligrams of sulforaphane, not just glucoraphanin, provides myrosinase, and preferably contains vitamin C. So the myrosinase is really what helps the conversion of glucoraphanin to sulforaphane. So that's something that you might want to consider when you're shopping for a sulforaphane brand. If you decide not to support our brand and you want to get it from somewhere else because you got a favorite company, that's okay. Just make sure that they have glucoraphanin, they guarantee you the sulforaphane content, they have myrosinase, just as the minimum, as all the minimums, okay? So that's one thing. The other thing that a lot of you, I'm going to dive to questions in just a second, but one of the things that many of you always ask us is, why don't I just do broccoli sprouts instead of doing a supplement? And so, first of all, I am a big fan of sprouting. If you follow our page on Facebook or you're in Hormone Thrivers, which is like the group that we have, whenever I sprout, I post pictures of that. So I'm a constant sprouter. I've just recently I started sprouting fennel seeds. I do broccoli seeds on a regular basis. The thing is, I don't have a chance because I love the sprouts for the phytonutrients, their anti-inflammatory properties. I just love the fact that just loaded with nutrients, and they're just so fun to grow and just add to your smoothies and salads. And, so it's just really, really great food. However, if I was having, for someone like me who's always struggling with estrogen dominance and looking for something that guarantees me sulforaphane content, I don't know how much of these sprouts really have sulforaphane because of the chart that I showed you, earlier, right? So in that chart, I don't know. I mean, it could be that my broccoli sprouts are just somewhere low here in terms of sulforaphane content, right? I wouldn't know. And so if you want a guaranteed content of sulforaphane, this is where I think using a supplement might be a really good idea. But do sprouts, and do get your sprouts as well, wherever you are, from farmers markets or supermarkets. They're all available there. You can save a lot of money by growing your own. You buy a whole bag for like, $10-12, and you can make probably 20 batches of sprouts, and you pay for sprouts like $7-8. Okay, so let's see. Is there anything else that I should be talking about with sulfur? So Broma Power. So Broma Power is available at our store. That's a supplement that I've been talking about. We now have a 60-day count. We used to have 90-day counts. It was a little bit expensive. This one, we got it reduced it down to 60, a count of 60. So that gives you a 2-month supply. Women typically who, if you look at the reviews, a lot of the reviews are you're going to read about is always correlated with estrogen dominance. So women typically report who started taking sulforaphane. Our Broma Power start reporting that their hot flashes have improved, that they are sleeping a lot better, that their lumpy breasts have significantly reduced. I certainly feel like my breasts are much less tender, or not tender at all if I take sulforaphane on the throughout the month when my period comes. So just a lot of really great benefits. Okay, so let's see, what questions do we have? Brittany, if you want to pop some. Could I have low estrogen and why boobs deflated? Okay. Yes, that's very possible. And not just estrogen, but also testosterone can play a very big role in just the overall strength of your muscles, skin elasticity. So, correcting those will be really helpful. Testosterone in women is produced by your adrenals. So unlike men produce it in the testes. We produce testosterone in our adrenals. And so a lot of women, panic when they say, like, how do I produce more testosterone? Do I need to take bioidentical hormones? And there's always an option. You can talk to your provider about that. But there is also a lot of things that you can do to increase your testosterone just by supporting your body with supporting your adrenals. Okay. What do I do about saggy deflated boobs? I love being before period because I get fullness there. Then boom, 2 sizes down. But the decalcium I got from you and Brocco and others have helped 100%. No other boob pain, breast pain. Why no chest at all now? So yeah, that's what I've explained. I mean, one of the things that happens, before your period, right? Like, your estrogen, progesterone are the very highest, and then right before your period, everything just goes. So this is the reason why when they drop, that can happen. Julene, there is a new article we just published on the blog called Natural Ways of Increasing Your Estrogen Levels in a Healthy Way. So if you just look at that article, it will give you some ideas on how to increase your estrogen levels in a natural way using some of the herbs and food. So like flaxseed is one really great food that is full of estrogen. Why would DIM cause underarm odor? Interesting. I mean, I think, anything temporarily can cause body odor. And one of them is that when your liver starts detoxify, and DIM really helps your liver detoxification as well. So I think it could be a detoxification problem. One of the things that I have found is that when I keep my diet really clean, and especially, so for me, this is very personal, but find what is yours. When I drink coffee, my body really smells. And it's really interesting because I don't drink coffee anymore. I do drink caffeine in other forms, like from green tea or from black tea, but not coffee per se. And when I drink coffee, it's just like when I do go back to it once in a while, like I'm in Italy or something, and I can't find green tea or I forgot to bring it with me, then my body odor really comes out. So it's really your body's your liver ability to detox. The more you support your liver, the less of the underarm body odor you're gonna have. I was taking DIM and calcium D-glucarate and got horrible acne on my face and back. Why did it happen? Yeah, so, it's always good to remember. Yeah, thank you for your question. I think it's always good to remember that one supplement is, we have the saying in food, right? One person's food is another person's poison. I wouldn't say it's poison, but it could be that, so a couple of things that could happen. It's either these supplements are just not for you, and you're going to respect that and try maybe sulforaphane. The other thing that could have happened is that you could get rid of DIM, because it could be that your phase 1 is already upregulated maybe with other supplements. You don't really need DIM. The other thing that comes to mind is the detoxification process that happens when you start taking these supplements. So one of the things that we always advise is to do one supplement at a time. In our estrogen reset kit, we have DIM, calcium D-glucarate, and sulforaphane. And we always advise you guys to do one at a time, space them out for about 2 weeks apart. So when you introduce a supplement, not just from this kit, but any other supplement, then you can isolate and see, like, it makes me feel great, or I don't feel good at all. My 15-year-old daughter has horrible periods with extreme cramps and vomiting the first day of her cycle. Will this help her? Yeah, so Tonya, yes, absolutely. And that was me. I didn't vomit, but I was just in such tremendous pain that I was passing out when I was a teenager. And so one of the things, and the standard protocol for OBGYNs in this country is to put girls on birth control pills, right? Not addressing the whole estrogen dominance issue. So if you have my book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance, period problems is one of the symptoms of estrogen dominance. And there is in chapter 15, I have a whole chapter on dysmenorrhea and PMS protocol, how to clean up the diet, what supplements to add, and that way you can really help her, and it's completely possible. The only challenge that I find with teenagers is that, to really get the best results, you gotta get them off gluten, off sugar as much as possible, reduce sugar significantly, get them off dairy. Those are some of the things that a lot of people in our community will tell you, that the minute they stop doing dairy or gluten, their PMS has significantly improved without even taking any supplements. So I would say that's probably going to be your biggest uphill battle with her on that one. But at least if you can reduce gluten, reduce sugar, reduce dairy, if not completely eliminate it, then combine it with some supplements, she should get some really good results. And I'm so glad that as a mama, you are asking on her behalf, because that can really, a lot of women who've had a lot of period problems, me included, it later, it's just the periods get maybe a little bit better, but you start having a lot of other symptoms of estrogen dominance and things like, gallbladder problems, lumpy breasts, in the long term, even possibly estrogenic cancers. Can it help with someone who had a hysterectomy? Yeah, absolutely. So, just because a woman had a hysterectomy, it doesn't mean you don't produce estrogen. You still do. So, it's if it's a partial hysterectomy, you still have your ovaries. And so women think that they're going to produce estrogen through the ovaries. Is actually not true, because by removing the uterus, you're cutting down the blood supply to the ovaries. And so in the long term, actually, those ovaries are going to die off anyway. However, what happens in a lot of women is that the adrenals step in and start producing estrogen, but also your visceral fat, so like fat around your belly, is also where estrogen is being produced. And so the body steps in and compensates basically that way. So absolutely, helping, adding sulforaphane or any of the supplements to your protocol is just going to help your liver detoxify you from those estrogens that are produced elsewhere. So yes, you will still get a lot of different benefits. How do I support my adrenals? So that's a really long, loaded question, and I don't think I have the time today to answer that. In my first book, Cooking for Hormone Balance, is also available on Amazon. I would suggest get that book, and there's a whole adrenal protocol in there. But basically, it's removing stressors and adding a lot of nutrient-high foods, including vitamin C, magnesium, B6, also some of the supplements that you got to add on. But it's a pretty to address your adrenal dysfunction is actually a pretty complex topic that requires a lot of intervention. So I can't even talk about it meaningfully on a short call like that. Tina is asking how to decrease estrogen. So Tina, can I just ask that do invest in the book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance. It's not about decreasing estrogen. If you decrease estrogen, you're not gonna feel good either. It's really about rebalancing your estrogen levels. First of all, producing less, getting that estrogen to be broken down to more clean estrogens versus dirty estrogens. So skewing that balance more towards clean. And there's a lot of things you can do with your liver and supplements and herbs that can help to skew that balance. And the other thing is to correct the estrogen to progesterone ratio, which is another reason why we have a lot of problems that are estrogen dominant related. So it's not really about decreasing estrogen. If you decrease estrogen too much, you know, your bones start breaking, your skin starts sagging, your mental functions are just terrible. It's like, you know, menopausal women who walk into a room, it's like, what did I walk in here for? Where are my keys? Where are my glasses? Where's my phone, right? Like, where is this? That's like a low estrogen symptom. So we don't want that either. By the way, I think you have a Schnauzer. I always wanted to get a Schnauzer, but I've already got 2 dogs. So I've got to stop there. Okay, dosage of sulforaphane. So you want to see at least 3 milligrams of sulforaphane in your supplement. And if it's not listed, then that particular manufacturer has not tested for how much sulforaphane it is. And I have a problem with that because if you don't test how much, they tell you how much glucoraphanin they have, right? But remember, glucoraphanin needs to be converted to sulforaphane in your gut, in your stomach, but also with the help of an enzyme. And so if they're not citing how much sulforaphane it contains, then they probably haven't tested, or the product is just so poorly done that there's no sulforaphane left. So you're gonna be careful of these sort of things. We are using 3 milligrams in hours, and it gives you, so it's just basically for 1 capsule, and that's all you need for the day. How long and how often would you take sulforaphane? Yulia is asking. So everybody's got a dog here, and this is a cute little Pomeranian. So you can take it for 60 days and see whether it helps your symptoms, then stop and see whether you can sustain your good level of health without having to go back to it. Some women manage to, get better, and their symptoms of estrogen dominance diminish significantly. They don't need to go back on sulforaphane. It is a pretty expensive supplement because it really is difficult to make it, a good one. You know, there's a lot of really shitty ones out there for like $12 a bottle, but I don't think, quite honestly, it's gonna work. But some women, so that includes me, just because I am a terribly slow estrogen metabolizer. My liver I have my MTHFR mutations. I have the CBS sulfur mutations. My vitamin D doesn't get through. My estrogen metabolism is really slow. The list goes on. So, for example, for someone like me, if I don't take sulforaphane for a month, my symptoms of estrogen dominance do come back. So that's a supplement that I've committed to taking daily, and I probably will for the rest of my life. Just because it really helps me. But maybe that's not gonna be you. So you're gonna test it out, stop, and then see how you feel. Lily is asking, will taking zinc help boost my progesterone? It can, but it has to be, you have to work with it in conjunction with vitamin C. So a couple of things, vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, put together, and B6 put together really help with progesterone production. We have a really nice progesterone boosting kit in our supplement store. If you go to wellena.com, then you can get that progesterone boosting kit. The other one that is it's an herb that I hope to introduce at one point to our store is Vitex. So VITEX. Vitex is also wonderful in helping your body produce its own progesterone. It's a progesterone booster. It's a different action from the nutrients, but I think if you combine zinc, vitamin C, vitamin E, and then Vitex, it just really gives you like this amazing ability to produce progesterone really quickly. So that could be, that could be a really good combo for you. Vitex you can take in a form of supplements. There is also Vitex in form of tinctures. That's very effective. Just make sure you get it from a really good quality manufacturer. Oh, thank you, Jolene. I love your haircut. I'm new to Hormone Thrivers, and I have watched a lot of your older YouTube videos where you had longer hair. The cut is so fresh. Thank you. Yeah. Can you open the capsule ticket with applesauce? Yes, you can. Dorothy is asking. Yes, you absolutely can. There are certain supplements that you shouldn't be doing that, because if the supplement's job is to give you an example, like one thing that comes to mind is like if you're doing some parasitic supplements that the coating on the capsule is there to really help you get through the stomach, so the stomach acid doesn't destroy the supplement. And then because you want to get it into your intestines, then you don't want to do that. But when it comes to, for those of you who don't want to do capsules, DIM can be opened up, so can be sulforaphane, so can be calcium diglucarate. So this particular supplement group can definitely be used this way. And just on DIM, for those of you who are taking DIM, if you feel like DIM is helping you, one little pointer here for you is DIM is a lot more effective when it's suspended in oil. So like our DIM, I don't have the bottle with me here, but ours is a little capsule, red capsule that is a soft gel. So it's got sunflower oil that the DIM is infused into. It's a macrolide substance, and so it doesn't, the efficacy of it gets lost pretty quickly in a powder form. So that's another little pointer for you, is make sure you select a DIM product that's oil-based. Do you recommend taking DIM and/or calcium diglucarate for 60 days also to see the results? Yes, I do. So you always want to do one thing at a time. And so, starting off maybe with sulforaphane, and then do it for 14 days, see how you feel, then add on another one, calcium diglucarate will be my recommendation, and potentially DIM at the end. What specific foods and other cruciferous vegetables can support estrogen dominance? And so all the cruciferous vegetables are great. And for those of you who are not familiar, it would be things like this. It's basically all your cabbage family. So brassica, brassiaceae family. So it will be things like cauliflower, broccoli sprouts, arugula, collard greens, all the radishes, turnips, which are now coming out. We are in spring. They're just so amazing. Are really, really great. The other foods that really help with supporting estrogen dominance is anything that's bitter. So, things like dandelion leaves, dandelion root tea, burdock root tea, burdock root itself, if you can get hold of that. In Japanese cuisine, it's called gobo, G-O-B-O. And they cut it up and stir fry it with different sauces. That's a really great food. So yeah, anything better is going to really help you support estrogen dominance. How would I determine which keto supplement to start with? I suffer all the things: gut, uterine fibroids, heavy bleedings with breast. That tortured me a week before. Yeah, Heather. So, if you have a lot of stuff going on, I always believe that starting off with your gut is going to be most helpful. I don't know anyone who's got digestive issues who's feeling amazing and who can say, I am vibrant and happy and I sleep great and I've got amazing weight and my waist is healthy. I'm in great mood all the time, but my gut is in a mess. Like, it just doesn't happen. It really doesn't. So I think restoring your gut health is really something that I recommend. And then you will see a lot of your symptoms of estrogen dominance are also going to improve, partly because when you address your gut health, you're also going to bring down the inflammation in the body, and then your whole endocrine system will benefit from that. The other thing is with gut is, I don't talk enough about it, but the gut also has got some of the bugs in the gut are responsible for metabolizing estrogen. It's that part of the gut is the microbiome and estrogen put together is estrobolome. So The estrobolome is a subset of bacteria that helps you to neutralize estrogens as well. So without even thinking too much about it or addressing it with any specific bacteria strains per se, because we still don't know exactly what they are, just knowing that we want a diversity of gut bacteria, we want a gut that is not leaky, that you don't have a lot of food sensitivities, that your bowel movement is really healthy, you're not bloated, constipated, don't have acid reflux. Just working on that itself can be a project on its own. And in my book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance, is actually one of the foundational protocols. And there is a lot of information here how to restore your gut. If it's, if you've got more serious stuff going on, like the elimination diet is not helping you, some of the supplements that we have in here is not helping you, I do recommend save up some money, go and see a functional, so I stress the word functional, not your typical GI doc, right? But functional gastrointestinal expert or gut expert, and work with them, because sometimes you have other things going on, like it could be SIBO that needs to be addressed. It could be parasites that you have. I had tremendous gut issues, not because I wasn't eating properly, but because I had a parasite that I acquired, and that needed to be addressed in order to heal the gut. So Trisha is saying about colostrum for the gut. Yeah, it definitely can help heal. But again, if colostrum can be super helpful in rebuilding the microflora, and there's a lot of other things that actually help you to rebuild the walls of the gut, the intestines. However, one thing to remember is again, like colostrum can be a tool in your toolbox. But if you have parasites, or if you have SIBO, you have some other infections going on, and then colostrum, or whatever else is the aloe vera that you're doing, or slippery elm is a really great one as an herb for restoring your gut lining, right? They just might not work when you have other things going on. So I always believe start off with the elimination diet, a few supplements, maybe colostrum included. If you're still struggling, go and see a good expert. I'm going to take one or two more questions, and then I'm going to wrap up for today. Victoria is saying, I'm 60, completely over menopause. I take herbal supplements, so I really feel good. My only problem is sagging skin. Any advice do you think I need to boost my estrogen? So Victoria, that's a great question. Yes, you could consider doing that. And so, we posted the article about how to increase estrogen levels naturally. That's one of the latest articles that we published. So there could be some help for you there. The other thing you could do is collagen can really be helpful, especially when you combine collagen together with vitamin C. So vitamin C taken internally helps you with your own native collagen production. So taking a collagen, but also stimulating your own body's collagen production could really be a helpful idea. The last thing, I'll just put it out there, if those don't work, sagging skin can also be due to low testosterone levels. And there is no herb specifically fennel seed is said to increase serum testosterone in women, but I don't know whether it's going to be sufficient. So one of the things you might want to consider, if the first options that I gave you are not working, is to work with a bioidentical hormone expert to see whether he or she would want to put you on testosterone, very low doses, like 5 milligrams starting off, and see whether that helps you. A lot of women do get a lot of relief that way. But make sure you're managed properly. And one of the things you want to be mindful of when you do on even if it's bioidentical hormones like testosterone, DHEA, estrogen, is to have your hormones tested regularly every 6 months because testosterone converts to estrogen, and you want to make sure that when you're converting to the clean estrogens, not the dirty estrogens. You're breaking down those estrogens properly. So that's something to be really mindful of if you decide to go that route. Great. Seems like we have no more questions. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. And I hope this was helpful. It gave you a little bit of education of sulforaphane. As you always know, not every supplement is made the same. It is a highly unregulated industry. So our supplements, unfortunately, are not the cheapest, but it's because we really pay a lot of attention on where are we getting ours from. Our Broma Power comes from a source of broccoli sprouts that are highly rich. Oh, they're high in glycoraphanin. We also have the enzyme myrosinase that converts to sulforaphane. We have a standardized 3 milligram sulforaphane content. So, those are some of the things you want to be very mindful of when you are shopping for a sulforaphane supplement. Just really one of my absolute favorites. The more I'm using it, the more amazed I am at the results that it gives a lot of our community members here, but also my own health. Thank you so much for being here today, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye-bye for now.